Hey y'all, I want to spend a few minutes talking about the competitive benchmarking process during due diligence for SEO-focused acquisitions. Now this video is going to be more context than analysis because competitive benchmarking should really be happening at every single step of the due diligence process. So I'll have plenty of more videos going into specific analysis techniques when you're comparing to the market for every single angle that you're looking at for a potential acquisition. So comparing it to your competitors and the overall landscape at every step during the diligence process is really important because it's all relative depending on the category or niche or business model that you're looking at and what is defined as market leading or really just a good asset in general. So today I want to cover just a few questions that I think you should be asking when doing competitive benchmarking, as well as running through a couple of examples. So first up, you have to understand, where does the site stand relative to the competition in the market? Are they the market leader, or are there a bunch of analogous competitors ahead of the site that you're looking to acquire in the landscape? And is there a decent business case based on the due diligence that you've done on every single aspect of the site and business to get it to either market leadership or a position in the landscape where you've essentially cemented your investment thesis? I'll cover this more in depth in a different video, but I think it's important to point out that market leadership shows strength, but also vulnerability for sites that are in that position, because there's really only one place to go, and that's down. So you really need to have a strong case for keeping and extending the lead, which really comes from all of these strengths and opportunities that you've outlined during your due diligence process to build your investment thesis. Now, there's a couple of different analysis techniques that you can use to assess market leadership. One of my favorites is using the traffic share by domains report in Ahrefs. There's some similar ones in SEMrush and some other tools that you can use if you really like using those platforms. But essentially, you're just getting at estimated traffic share for different sets of keywords. So on the right-hand side here, I have a chart for the dog food niche that is essentially just comparing traffic share percentages by query class. So we have a few different query classes here that are very common in many affiliate landscapes with your best of keywords. So think, best dog food for senior dogs, and then individual reviews of brands and comparison keywords. So I did that exact same analysis technique that I showed in the prospecting video using this estimated traffic share model. So make sure to check that out if you haven't already. But essentially you can see here that Dog Food Advisor really runs away with market leadership in terms of just SEO share voice in each of these different query classes. So they dominate across the board, whether you're looking at best of or review keywords. So they're the clear market leader in this landscape when it comes to traffic share. And I think it's an interesting example to look at, because when I see this type of spread for a lot of the top sites in the landscape, I see a lot of opportunity to potentially come in as the number 2 or number 3 player in terms of estimated traffic share in this niche. Or if you have the balance sheet for it, potentially acquiring a site like Dog Food Advisor that has the potential to keep and extend their market leadership if your due diligence suggests that, and you have a really strong investment thesis for maintaining and extending that lead like I talked about. Dog Food Advisor, I think, is actually a decent example of keeping and extending the lead. I think it's a pretty high quality site with like a lot of potential improvements as well from a UX standpoint, and just some of the other content gaps that the site has and things like that. But they actually just got acquired by WAG, the pet care company, for $9 million in January. So I think the guy who started it is like a retired dentist, and he just cashed in $9 million selling to one of the biggest pet care tech companies out there. So really strong exit for this guy, but clearly they had some investment thesis around keeping and extending market leadership. And I think just to give you a different example around a different type of landscape and how the competitive nature of it may be a little bit different and the makeup be a lot different than a clear market leader where you potentially want to acquire somebody who is the number 2 or number 3 player in the space and have an investment thesis to catch the market leader, or if you want to acquire that market leading asset, if you have a strong thesis to keep and maintain the lead, is something like the real estate niche where the page 1 of search results is very entrenched in terms of the competitors that are there. Good luck grabbing traffic share here if you're starting from scratch and aren't buying into this landscape and acquiring one of the large competitors that are already here today, just because of how large the sites are and really, like I said, how entrenched they are in those real estate keywords. So this is another just really good question that I like to ask myself around competitive benchmarking is, are there a lot of new entrants in the landscape? Are there a lot of incumbents? If there's a lot of incumbents, you really need to buy into that landscape with one of the top 3 or 4 competitors in order to really have a shot in the short to medium term to really gain a significant amount of market share for whatever category or niche that you're looking at. And then I'll also look at the gap between the top 1 to 2 sites and the rest of the market. Dog Food Advisor, I think, was a really interesting example of such a huge gap there that I think can be somewhat easily closable if you have the right strategy and resources to invest. But in a niche like real estate, it's going to be really tough to catch these guys if you aren't acquiring a top 5 competitor here. So just another example of a competitive comparison chart that I like to have in my due diligence is having traffic share for top keywords within that space. In the real estate space here, I just looked at top markets for the most popular query classes for their listings pages in order to get a decent look at relative market share. And then linking your domains, domain rating, organic traffic, these just kind of really basic metrics can give you a decent feel for who some of the biggest sites are in the landscape when you're looking at your category or niche that you're looking to acquire a site in. So I'll have some more videos on just competitive benchmarking in general, but let me know if y'all have any questions, and I'll see you in the next one.